Retail Intelligence Product Overview. My name is Alex Smith and I'll be leading you through today's presentation. SwiftQB International has been a Retail Pro strategic alliance partner for the last 5 years, and we're very focused on retail and Retail Pro customers specifically. We work with both version 8 and version 9, which does allow a seamless migration strategy between the two systems on the same reporting platform. Our object is obviously to provide everyone with access to the right information to the right person at the right time by supplying an out-of-the-box product with scheduled reporting, on-demand dashboards, and very easy implementation. Our installations are across the world and range from single stores to 500 stores plus. How we do that is quite simple. We extract information from Retail Pro into our retail knowledge base and layer the retail intelligence reports on top of that to deliver the information to any level of end user, be it executive team right down to store management. In addition, we allow access to any other third-party data source, be it CSV, Excel, SQL, Oracle, or any ODBC compliant database, to provide single layer reporting across all spectrums of your retail customer base or retail infrastructure. Our focus is very key on store, product and inventory performance, as well as staff and customer performance across the board. It's all about empowering you as a retailer to have the right information at your fingertips to enable you to make more informed decisions in the efficient running of your business. In summary, from a PowerPoint perspective, we leverage the data from Retail Pro and we try and make the key trends available and opportunities visible, identify the efficiencies and the deficiencies within your business to enable you. Obviously, we try and access any other data source as well, so it does give that single level of reporting, be it data traffic, footfall traffic, spreadsheets, targets, HR, payroll, etc. And we're very focused on scheduling alerts and exception reports directly to end users through the use of email and browser-based dashboarding. It's a very simple implementation. We can install today and reports can hit the user from tomorrow morning onwards. It is browser-based. There is no per-user license. The product is licensed on a per-inventory basis, very similar to the Retail Pro infrastructure, but it's targeted at getting the right information, the right reporting information from within Retail Pro, established and out to all levels of end users. What we'll now do is go into the product itself, and I'll give you a very quick run-through of the 3 levels of infrastructure we have, from the dashboarding and Google Mapping through to the interactive queries, through to the output reports, and finally focusing very briefly on the scheduling and the automation of these reports to end user profiles. Right, back to the product itself. As you can see, it's browser based. I'm going to sign on as a super user, which gives me full access to the system. The system is user based controlled, so you can have different users having different views and different menu structures and different options within the system. Back to what I said before, there are 3 types of query within the system. There's the dashboard or Google Mapping type query, then there's interactive query, and finally there's the output reporting side of things. If we just start on the Google Mapping side, what we do is we demographically tag the locations of every store based on latitude and longitude, and in a Google Map environment we can highlight top performing stores versus bottom performing stores very quickly. In addition, the Google Map can be used as a dashboard that is very store specific, very time specific, and allows us to tag reports that are now associated with the store and move on from there. We also do it on a customer basis. We can do customer demographics and automatically geotag customer data based on the address held within Retail Pro. Additional reports on an interactive nature include simple sales by store, year, month, and the sort of information this facilitates is graphical views, so charts and grids with instant access to data, the ability to click on a store or on a month and get a snapshot of how my stores are performing for the month of January, or get a snapshot of how my stores are performing across all months. Again, due to the interactive nature of this type of report, we can change the metrics, we can change the measures simply by selecting them from the drop down, looking at discounts, looking at it by store rather than month, and clicking refresh. We can remove the grid from the bottom half of the screen simply by taking it off there, and again hitting refresh. We can also do like-for-like comparisons, and I can look at 2012 years compared to 2013 data and see instantly those stores that are performing year on year or performing month on month across the months for that snapshot analysis. The key benefits of retail intelligence is the ability to look at data from any different angle and from a user perspective to change those views very quickly to get a informative view and identify the efficiencies and deficiencies within the system. There are several other types of queries, whether they drill through, whether it's hourly analysis, whether it's top sellers at company level or top sellers at store level, by quantity, by sales, by cost, by margin, year to date, month to date, or selected date range. And then finally into the KPI options, which are built on a monthly basis at the beginning of each month, showing key performance metrics across all levels of the company hierarchy, whether it's store, department, or vendor. And from a store perspective or a department perspective, being able to analyze sales on hand, sales for the last 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, versus GMROI, stock turn, sell through, or weeks cover. Once you've identified a department that requires further drill through, we can drill through from a department down to a class, from a class down to a subclass with the same level of changes on the X and Y axis, and from a subclass down to individual styles within the system. And the style view shows everything from description 1 to on-hand sales for the last 3, 6, or 12 months, my gross profit, and then those key metrics I've spoken to you about already, which are my GMROI, my stock turn, my sell-through, my weeks cover. The whole purpose of these sorts of analytics are for you as a retailer to bubble up the exceptions, to identify those products that are performing well, to identify those products that aren't, and to make the right decisions on the back of it. Everything within the system can be screenshotted, it can be exported to Excel, to PDF, to XML, to any other data format, simply by selecting the output you want and hitting export. We can then go back to the main screen and we can analyze data, as I said before, at any level of the hierarchy. That's at store level, which we've sort of briefly covered, and from an individual store I can then analyze the DCS structure within that. Not only is it at drill through level, but we also have the overstocked and understocked exceptions and the ability to apply any exceptions against any of these metrics. So a user and a retailer can very quickly identify, again, those products that are working well for them and those products that aren't. We then move on to the reporting side, and this is the standard output reporting, simple reports that can either be run on demand or run through the scheduler. I'll start off with the sales report by date range, and I'll just select a date range where there's data in it. So we'll do 2012, click on submit, and the report comes automatically out in a standard format. Some graphical views broken down by store, sales, returns, discounts, and the key metrics at the end: total transactions, average value, net units per transaction. And the ability here, or the facility here, is for retailers to quickly identify stores based on performance, based on other metrics such as percentage of returns, percentage of discounts, or to try and improve performance based on average basket value or average units per transaction. All these reports can be scheduled out in PDF or Excel and can be output immediately from an on-demand basis to email directly to any named recipient. We then move into some of the other reports, such as the weekly sales and stock report. Again, this tends to be scheduled on a weekly basis, running automatically on a Monday morning for the previous week's sales, and it comes up with information such as this on the screen. Now, this is for week 27 of 2013, and it shows the department hierarchy at the top with the totals for this week's sales, the previous week's sales and variance, the same week last year and the variance, year-to-date variance last year, sales mix, right through to your on-hand at cost, quantity, and retail, and your stock mix by department. Finally, going down into a breakdown of class within each department and the totals in the same metric as before. So a very quick snapshot, ideal to be emailed to whoever needs that level of information every Monday morning, and it becomes one of those key metric reports. A similar scheduled report is the weekly KPI report. This breaks it down by store and comes up by store Monday to Sunday. This year's revenue for the week compared to last year's revenue, percentage of change, highlighted in red for deficiencies, highlighted in blue for efficiencies or improvements, showing number of transactions, number of units, average value per transaction, average units, gross margin percentage, and the change against all of those. going right through to totals for the group at the end. Ideally, either at summary level or breakdown by individual day level within each store, a scheduled Monday morning report that gives a high-level snapshot view of store performance and retail performance overall. Other sales-based reports include the overall totals by department sorted by margin, broken down by date range, and these are user-identifiable date ranges. These reports can again be scheduled and automated, and it shows at department class level your sales versus your on-hand, and your contribution mix at class level between stock and sales. As stated, sales can be at any level of the hierarchy. We can have sales by hour, we can have sales by staff member, so cashier sales or staff sales ranking reports, broken down and including your key metrics, your average units, your average basket size, your number of transactions. We can have your sales by individual products, right through to supplier performance reports, where we can analyze reports and sales at supplier level. So for each sale, what the contribution is, the cost of sales, the stock holding, your goods in information, through to your sales margin analysis, your item level or style level reporting, which shows you what's been sold, what the expected margin is at list price, and what your real margin is based on the value of goods sold at the till. We then move into some of the performance-based reports. These are things like vendor ranking reports or store ranking reports that analyze current period against the previous period. All these dates are parameter driven, so it could be last week versus the previous week, or October versus October last year. Again, whether it's at vendor level, at store level, at staff level, at department level. So we have the same information available across all metrics, or right down to individual store level across the board. The final level of reports I want to cover briefly are inventory reports, so being able to analyze inventory at more comparative levels. This particular report shows the week's inventory at style within each individual department or store, showing sales for the last 4 weeks or last month compared to sales for the last quarter and any variance in between, what's currently on hand for those styles, and what your weeks cover based on your average rate of sale per week is for the last month and the last quarter, to allow you to track trends upwards or downwards in your stock holdings, and to ensure that you have sufficient stock to cover your current rate of sales. This can be at style level, at store level, at inventory level. We then move into more informative reports, such as the projection report, which takes sales for the next 3 months of last year. So if it was running on the 14th of the 7th, it would look at sales from the 14th of the 7th last year to the 13th of the 10th last year. So it's a forward cover projection report at style, at store, at DCS level, compared to the last quarter that you've just exited. So again, it's a comparison. It's about trend analysis. It's about identifying what percentage of fulfillment you have on your on hand, if you've got any stock on order, when the expected date is, and to bubble up those exceptions and send them directly to the right person at the right time, so more informed decisions can be made against that. The final 2 reports I'm going to focus on very quickly are the aging reports. These take the on-hand at department, class, subclass or style level and work out and reverse calculate how long that stock has been on your store based on when it was physically received in. So anything over the 360 days or 12 months is stock that's been sitting unsold in your store for more than that period of time. When you look at the quantity sold in the previous 12-month period and your weeks of supply, where you've got a high level of weeks of supply and a low quantity sold compared to what your current on hand is, and where your levels of stock holding are greater than 6 months, those are the areas, the bubble up exceptions, that we'd want to report on, we'd want to analyze, and we'd want to make more informed decisions on. And again, whether it's at department level, whether it's at style level, whether you automate these out to individual merchandisers, all of that can be categorized or compacted within the system, scheduled out, automated, and delivered directly. Right, that covers a sample of the reports. We've touched on a few of them. The key aspect of the system, again, is about automating data, about delivering it directly to the right people, about scheduling that information. So to that regard, I'm just going to briefly touch on the scheduler. This is part and parcel of the Retail Intelligence application. It manages the extraction of data from Retail Pro, whether it's on a near real-time basis, whether it's a daily extract, pulling in stock balance history on a daily basis and holding that, or more importantly, running the reports. And these are the daily reports, the merchandise, the KPIs, the monthly. Schedules can be created and set up by individual users. They can be set up as part of the deployment of the system, and they can be maintained on an ongoing basis to send information on a daily, a weekly, a monthly basis on specified dates at specified times. Once the task has been set up, the individual options within that can be clearly defined, and reports can be automated to go to any named email address in any format to anywhere. The key aspect, or the key point I always pick up when presenting the system, is to make the end user both accountable and responsible for the information. So personalize the email, say, "Dear John, please find attached your weekly sales and stock report for last week. Review and send in any comments or actions accordingly." That way you empower the recipient. You're not relying on them to log on to the system and run a report. You're pushing information out, but you're making sure it's targeted, informative, actionable information that from a retail perspective, the decisions can be made to help empower your business make more profit. The more information you provide and the more actionable data you provide, the more streamlined your business becomes, and ultimately the more profitable it becomes. Thank you very much for your time. If there's any questions, please forward them through to your business partner, and we can set up a one-to-one demo or arrange an installation of the product. Again, I hope it was informative, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you very much. Goodbye.